muddling through, who still believes in the symbolic function, or still has some sort of remnant of it, which sustained throughout history, which this ancient times or Paleolithic times people believing they were some animal. And so essentially what you were saying is that we can't take things absolutely literally. That can't be how belief works, and that destroys belief. That's what the people on both sides of this define the symbolic function are doing. So Camus has one solution, which is to say that we understand that we will never achieve knowledge, but we must eternally try to achieve knowledge, and it's the absurd man is in Sisyphus. And that seems to be one solution. We seem to be offering a different solution somehow, which is that we have to go back and what Professor West said about staring a traumatic in the face, not talking around it anymore, but looking at it directly. And it seems to me that that's once again returning to taking things at face value, looking at it directly. In other words, if there's a dichotomy between those who perpetrate the decline of the symbolic function and those who retain the symbolic function, and those who perpetrate the decline are the fundamentalists, aren't we supposed to be trying to make fundamentalists out of all of us? And that's my answer to that question.
No, maybe I didn't get correctly your point. Just to return to the fragment that I think I got about learning to face things and so on and so on. Of course, everything depends on what exactly do you mean by facing things and so on and so on. Where I'm skeptical about it is, I deeply agree with you, this monster or traumatic kernel and so on, but nonetheless, I don't think we should fetishize it in the guise of this typical postmodern myth, which is truth is horrible. There is some central horror, the thing like Edgar Allan Poe's that maelstrom or what or whatever, and then, this Nietzschean problematic of do we dare to face it or not, and so on. I think that what if, how should I put it, it's a little bit the same for me as with male chauvinist approach to women. I think that the ultimate male myth is that beneath this feminine hysteria, masks, and so on, there is some primordial radical woman, which can either be this sublime Goethe-like ewig weibliche, eternal feminine, or some all-devouring Kali, whatever, mother, and so on. But what if there is nothing? You know what I mean? The thing itself for me is a gap. It's a gap. It's not, for me, how should I put it, but this now it's too much of a pure philosophy. Again, it's not, how should I put it, I don't believe that all our plurality of symbolic universes and so on are attempts not to confront the thing and so on. No, I think that this thing itself is, in a way, the ultimate myth. But again, my position here is not the postmodern one, another one which would be there is no ultimate reality, there are just multiple narratives, stories we are telling. No, everything is not just a narrative. But nonetheless, what is more than a narrative, how should I put it? It's not some tremendous traumatic thing there. It's just a certain gap, antagonism, cut, as it were, in the narrative itself. And this is, in a way, how I read, but I don't have time to go into it now, the message of Christianity for me. It's, okay, we start with this experience of Job. You say Job, the guy who, blah, 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 who is, incidentally, that's for me an extremely interesting story, because it's usually totally misread. Like, usually Job is perceived as somebody who allowed himself to be screwed by God, but I accept everything. No, read it. He's protesting all the time, Job. No, I think it's okay, but I think that the key to it is to say that what happened to Job, this, am I totally abandoned by God? That this gap that separates me from God is transposed into God himself. That's for me the unheard of thing of Christianity. So let me be here very careful. With other religions, when you are abandoned by God, the point is how, through your deification, sacrifice, mystical education, to rejoin God. Christianity has basically a different solution. When I feel totally abandoned by God, how do I rejoin God? Not by miraculously turning the thing around, but suddenly things turn better, but to accept how, at that very point where I'm totally abandoned by God, I identify with Christ who was also abandoned. You know what I mean? That the very gap that separates me from God is part of divinity itself. So, I as it were, how to put it, and here I use very precise Hegelian terms, the problem turns its own solution. And I think, at least as far as I know, that this is unique to Christianity. In all others have this boring, problematic, then how to rejoin God. But in the very utmost abandonment, you are already close to God. And again, I think that this is something unheard of. But when you said about Camus and so on, the problem again that I have there is the problem of, maybe I misread Camus, but he is for me a little bit too close to wisdom. And there is something in my nature, probably genetically determined, in my aversion to wisdom. Wisdom for me is, we will never get the thing, but you must learn to get, this kind of a wisdom of resignation, in the sense of resigning. Even, unfortunately, some of the Lacanians buy this, as if the lesson of psychoanalysis is the true object of desire is always lost, you must accept symbolic castration, lost. No, I think that the whole point of Christianity for me, New Testament, what are the new... Christianity is for me the religion of anti-wisdom. It's not wisdom. All paganism ends up in wisdom. We return to dust, everything goes up and goes down and so on. It's kind of ultimately we all lose and so on and so on. But I don't accept this position of wisdom. Wisdom is for me always, there is for me something disgusting in wisdom. Wisdom is for me best exemplified in Proverbs. And Proverbs are for me the ultimate vulgarity, in the sense that anything can be covered and justified by Proverbs. Let us say you have to do something which is risky. You do it, you succeed. What happens? There will be a wise guy who will tell you, of course, as we say, don't you have, you also must have. We have in Slovenia a proverb which says, only those who risk profit, like something like the wisdom. No? Okay, let us then say that you take the risk and you fail. Again, your wise guy will come and will tell you some version of, we have in Slovenia a wonderful vulgar proverb, you cannot urinate against the wind, like don't take it. You know what I mean? This is wisdom for me. Anything can be justified and so on and so on. I think that, again, the unique thing about Christianity is precisely that it's not this position of wisdom. It's, in a way, how should I put it, all the other pagan ethics are the ethics of cosmic justice. Something introduces an imbalance into the world. The point is then how to restore balance. It's basically a very organic ethics. It's the ethics of you want to be too much, the ethics of fighting the excess. For example, you want to be too much, but tragically you fail. But I think that Christ himself is an excess. The only in Christianity you have this crazy idea, which is for me, in my madness, I read it almost as a kind of a Leninist message, that truth is partial. Pagan ethics always has this position of to be above differences. No, the idea is, you say this, I say this, truth is holistic, compromise, and so on. Only in Christianity you have basically this idea, no, truth is partial, truth is one-sided, truth is imbalance. The universe must be thrown.
But you got that in Judaism before you even get the Christian Judaic breakdown. Truth is partial.
Here we enter a very problematic topic. I'm not ready to go into it now because then I'm either accused of being either anti-Semitic or anti-Christian. You always get in trouble here, no? My favorite reply to this, and to conclude maybe, is another, I quoted in one of my books, dirty joke, which is for me a perfect joke because it's totally ambiguous. And I ask you a question, how do you read it? It's a joke about a rabbi who his son spends too much money, attacks him, horrible son, and rabbi turns to God, Father, tell me, God, what should I do with my son? Father, God answers, do as I did, write a New Testament. No, now, I ask you a simple question. Is this a joke of Jews making fun of stupid Christians? Or is this a joke of Christians this is only how the Jews can understand us, blah, blah, blah. It's unbelievable how I get whenever almost 50-50, no? And so that would be the problem here, how to...
We've been very patient.
Sir.
Our is so dangerous about the eradication, of belief in the acknowledgement of actual, real knowledge of the existence and the person of God. What is, you said that it was very dangerous, like fundamental section myself, and so I'm just wondering if you could be a little bit more precise. You may have already answered the question, and so I apologize for that. I missed it. So could you go over that one more time, please?
No, okay. Let's avoid the term dangerous. What I'm only saying is that for me, what is precious about belief is precisely this way, this